Today is June the 20th, 2024. My name is Tanya Finchum. I'm with Oklahoma State University with the Oklahoma Oral Research Program, and today I'm in Oklahoma City at the Oklahoma Black Museum and Performing Arts Center to speak with Kermy Hurte.
Kermy, Kermy. No I. I'm not the frog.
Okay, Kermy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kermy Hurte. Who is here to talk to us about his experiences growing up in East Side is what I had. Is that correct?
Northeast quadrant of Oklahoma City.
Okay. So thank you for coming today.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into the neighborhood part, let's learn a little bit about you. Start wherever you like.
Well, let's start from birth. Born 1946 at University Hospital, which is basically the only one we could go to at that time. I know you found up because that's a reality. And we lived on 413 North Garrett, which is right down the street from Deep Deuce. Everybody knows where Deep Deuce is. And went to church at St. John Baptist Church, which is on 2nd and Phillip. The first school I really got involved in was at Page. I was too young to go, but we would go over there and play and so forth. Almost drowned because I did not know how to swim. And I was walking past the pool, it's in the summertime, and somebody pushed me in the pool. And all I could remember is I said, oh, there's somebody up there. And next thing I know, somebody reached in and grabbed me and pulled me out. If I hadn't, I'd have drowned it that day. Of course, that was my father, who was very advocate of trying to ensure that his sons did not pass in that particular can continue, because he lost a brother in that same capacity. But that was in a pond in Ardmore, Oklahoma. So, but he took us to the YMCA on 4th Street. And that's why I learned how to swim. So that was the issue. Went to school at Dunbar, grade school, and had a great time. I mean, didn't know about prejudice, didn't know about a lot of things that was occurring. I think the first time, I'm going in various ways, my father had 2 jobs. He worked for the post office and he worked for Flowshine Shoe Shop downtown Oklahoma City. He was basically a janitor there. He worked part-time on weekends. The only thing that kind of let me know what prejudice was, that he addressed all the people there as Mr. This and Mr. That. They called him Willie, and he was older than all of them. So me and my infinite wisdom, I walked to the manager and I said, Mr. Klaus, why do you call my daddy Willie and he calls you Mr. Klaus? He said, you need to talk to your daddy. And daddy said, don't worry about it, son. You'll learn exactly what that means.
How old were you when that?
I was 7 years old.
7.
But that was part of life. And I think you have to go. The Northeast Quadrant was a very beautiful area. We had everything that we needed. We had our own butcher shops, we had our own grocery stores, we had our photographers, we had everything. Only time we had to go to the other side of town is to go downtown and buy stuff. Johnny Brown's was the issue, Montgomery Ward's was the issue, Rothschild's was the issue. Everything was downtown Oklahoma City. That was before everybody went out to the suburbs and had the malls, if you will. And I think the thing that really impressed me as a teenager was when we crossed the tracks in Oklahoma City, our vernacular changed, our demeanor changed, because we had to be representative of Douglas High School and our parents. And that was instilled in us. My father used to always tell us, he said, son, get your education because nobody can take that away from you. And I'm cleaning that up. So, but that was me. And when I graduated high school, I attended Oklahoma State, had a great time. It was 200 of us of 18,000. 200 black folks and 18,000 others. But we had a great time. It was a very unique nucleus of people who took care of each other, etc. My issue was I was too young, didn't have a clue what I was doing, and had a great time and got drafted. But that was a blessing because I had enough wisdom to do all the things I was supposed to do, pass all the necessary tests, and they made me an officer. And I said, ooh. Didn't realize how significant that was. As a black officer in 1967, it was formidable. I took a whole lot of things to heart as far as saying, okay, look at me. I have excelled in something, but prejudice was rampant at that time. I had people that hated me and loved me at the same time because of my rank. But getting back to the Northeast Quadrant, that's enough for me. Northeast Quadrant was, I guess you can say, a place where everybody knew everybody. If our parents, you could go to Douglas High School, Moons High School, Webster Junior High School, and everybody, either your parents knew somebody or they knew somebody, and we all knew each other. So if you did something wrong, you got a phone call before you got home, letting your parents know that you did something wrong. And therefore, you can either get a butt whipping or a chastisement or something. But we loved that because a lot of times people nowadays don't know who they are. They don't know where they're coming from. They don't know where they're going. At least we knew we had some things we had to do. I think to kind of understand something, when you graduated high school, you had 3 choices, and only 3. You can either go to job, go to college, and go to the military. You knew that. You had the summers to make up your mind, but those 3 choices were only 3 choices. We didn't have to, no parent told us you had those 3 choices. We knew. When we graduated high school, we said we got a summer to have a great time. But after then, those choices had to come to fruition, and we had to make that choice. I didn't have a choice. I went to school, then I got drafted. Then I said, okay. When I got through with the military, I went back to school, got my degree, got a master's, and now I'm okay. It was a wonderful experience, but the military taught me a lot as far as discipline. That's something I didn't have. But the Northeast Quadrant, if you really think about it, it gave you a sense of belonging. I knew who I was. I knew I was a black man. I knew I was a proud black man. I knew I had a father and mother who loved me. And that was significant.
That was significant, yes.
And you can't answer that. I did a lot of things. I was a wild child, a wild child in my heyday. And yes, I drank, I smoked, I did all those things I wasn't supposed to do at 18 years old. But my father and mother stuck by me. Yes, they test my little hips every now and then, but that was a part of growing up. That was a part of letting you know that you were loved, because I do the same thing with mine. I try to tell my sons and my daughter that you have a place in this earth, and you have to find out what that place is. But I know you're going to make some mistakes. We all do. We're human beings. We are going to make some mistakes. But you have people out there that's going to be a blessing to you and a curse. And I hate to say it, but sometimes we're our own worst enemies. I think there's a book I read years ago called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And it tells you a lot about our psyche and who we are and what we're about and how we hurt each other, because we have been indoctrinated to not trust each other. Because when we came over on the boat, we were a whole bunch of different tribes. We didn't have a language that we could communicate on that boat. But our masters used that against us. They told you, okay, you cannot trust because I'm the one you're supposed to trust. And we have not graduated from that particular ideology. We still feel sometimes that we cannot trust each other. And we are that old cliche about crabs in a can. We can be that crab in a can, but we get past that sometimes. Some of us don't, and some of us do. My wife and I talk a lot about jealousy and envy. And we have to get past that. We have to help each other rather than pull each other down. But that's my philosophy of life. But going back to the Northeast Quadrant, the lady was telling me about the West End and Sandtown. I've been there once in my whole life. I know where it is, but I couldn't find it again to save my neck. I know it's better way. It's south of here. But, I've looked at Lincoln Boulevard. I've been here, I'm 77 years old. So therefore, I've seen the growth in Oklahoma City. I've seen the growth in the Northeast Quadrant.
You've been here the whole time?
No, ma'am. I went to the military for 26
Okay.
years. But just coming back, the hardest thing for me to accept, graduating from Douglas High School, is seeing white people at Douglas High School. And that's my prejudice, okay? And we all have some prejudices. Nobody can say they don't have some form of prejudice in their bodies. They have to learn to deal with that. But that's all a part of life, isn't it? As we grow up, we say, okay, I need you, I need my wife, I need everybody here. Because we're all in this world together. If we don't, we're in trouble. And we're finding that out more and more. I don't know what your political status is, but we have to get past the political status and just deal with each other on a one-on-one basis and try to work together. I remember that years ago when we really tried to work together. I know it was difficult. A lot of people didn't want to accept us as a whole, but just like I told my folks when I was in the military, I believe red just like you believe red. And we all have to learn just to get along. I don't want to die. I don't want nobody else to die, but that's a part of life too. We're not here permanently, but it's one of those things. I guess I've had a charmed life, if you will. I've got a chance to see a lot of things, be with a lot of folks, and still come out fairly unscathed to a degree. Yes, I still have some issues, and we all do, because we're human beings, and we're going to say some things I don't like, some things I can't change, and that old cliche, I learned to know the difference on those things I can't change. But all I can do is still be me and give you words of wisdom so that maybe you can change, if you will, or just if I can make a little bit of change. And I'm too old to really keep doing that. So I pass that on to my sons, hoping they will, in turn, do those things that will make this world a lot better. And all it takes is one person. We found it out with Martin. We found it out with Obama. We found it out with Clinton. And as far as his life is concerned, John Kennedy, all of those folks made some significant impacts as far as who we are today. Even though politics is so dirty, my wife says it's the dirtiest thing in the world. And it is. Because they are there to be manipulated. And we all have been manipulated in some form or another. But getting back to just understanding the Northeast Quadrant, look at it.
What's the boundaries for it?
The boundaries have never changed, but
Or what's the area? I mean, what street to street? So
Okay,
that those of us who don't know.
Okay, let's say back in the day we had it was First Street. All the way up, we could not, when I was around, we could not go past 8th Street. Then we went to 10th Street. Then I was blessed enough to go to Park Street, which is one block past 10th Street. But the boundaries technically have never existed. We have passed those boundaries. But, okay, back in the day, you can say, you go down to, you got 4th Street, 8th Street, 10th Street, take it down to 100 block, which is the tracks. The tracks ran north and south. That was our boundaries. Then you can go all the way to basically Sunny Lane. And we had Garden Days, you had, I'm trying to think of the communities. You had Dungy area, Spencer. Midwest City was not an area that we really frequented that much. Capitol Hill was definitely forbidden. Northwest Classen was it was an area that, a school that they really didn't care for us and we didn't care for them. But the boundaries, there was really no boundaries. We knew where we could go and we knew where we couldn't go. Kind of like the Green Book, if you will.
Yeah. Well, within the neighborhood, you like the east side, that particular.
The east side was, okay, like you said, at least I concentrated. I lived at 1405 Northeast Park, which is on the corner of Kate and Park, which is 1 block north of 10th Street. Went to Douglas High School, Moon High School, Moon Junior High, and Webster Junior High. So my boundaries was basically Garden Oaks to the east, now Garden Days to the Spencer to the east, and basically 36th Street to the north. Because that's where, you had your friends that you would always go to and be around. And that was it. And as far as to the west, I worked at a place called Adair's Cafeteria. That was on Lincoln Boulevard. which is right down the street from here. And that was my first real encounter because I washed dishes, and they found out I could articulate the English language, and they said, okay, we're gonna make you a cook. And I said, fine, I can have to wash no doggone dishes. So I learned to be a cook there, and it was a wonderful experience. But my goal was, I said I did that for 3.5 years. From the time I was 15 years old till I graduated from high school, and then I went to Oklahoma State University. But it helped me to be okay. My mother was a real advocate. We had 2 brothers, no girls, and she made sure that we knew how to cook, sew, and clean. So I said, well, I can never worry about being by myself. I can never worry about starving to death or being around the filth that I couldn't stand. So I guess, like I said, I've had a charmed life.
So what did they do for a living?
My
You
mother-
said your dad was a post office.
Yes, in post office and worked at Ocean Shoe Shop. My mother
Yeah.
was a housewife.
Okay. Well, how had they ended up in Oklahoma City?
My father was from Ardmore. He graduated from Langston University in biology. Taught school in, I can't remember the little small town he was in. And he was from Ardmore, Oklahoma, like I said, and moved to Oklahoma City and worked at, they called it Douglas Field back then, which is now Tinker Air. My mother was from Eagletown, Oklahoma. If you blink your eyes, you miss it.
I don't know where that is.
No, you know where Idabel is?
Yes.
Okay. 10 miles east of Idabel on
Okay.
Highway 64.
Okay.
That long. It had a general store. Didn't have a stoplight, didn't have a caution light, had a general store. And they had a little farm out there on 6 acres. And I used to go see them, and we got there one time late at night. And of course, they didn't have indoor plumbing. So I said, come on, gotta go to the bathroom. She said, well, honey, we moved it. And it was the middle of the night. You know, in the country, it's dark. So when you step outside, I said, okay, I know where it was. I ain't going to look, so I had to do some things on the side of the house. But she came to Oklahoma City to get away.
Wow.
So she was basically a waitress at a little cafe on 2nd Street. And my father met her, and I think he said one time he was there to get something to eat. Was dating her, and some guy tried to flirt with her. He said, okay, that's it, you got to quit, I'm going to marry you, let's go to the house. And that's how they got married. And they were together 44 years. My father, both of them are deceased now.
Well, how did her parents end up in Eagleton? Do you know?
No.
Don't know.
Well, both of them were slaves. So they became free persons. They're with the Cherokee Nation.
Okay.
So, and that's just one of those things that we didn't have anything that says, okay, we can kind of project where we want to go and what we want to do. No, they didn't have those choices. And luckily, they both came out okay. I think our Grandma Phyllis and Grandpa Tom were prosperous, had 11 children, and they all came out to be something. All of them are now deceased. My mother was the last of the 11 to die. My father had 3 brothers, and all of them died from prostate cancer. So, and that was for all the things that we know about prostate cancer and so forth. And so my mother died from, I won't say incompetence, but there were some things that was kind of shady about what happened with her. And because I didn't want to try to sue or anything like that. That is not in my nature. It didn't bring her back, and I didn't need the money. But as you said, the boundaries in Northeast Quadrant was invisible. We knew where we could go. We knew what we had to do, and there's certain things we didn't do. At certain places we would not go because we know we would not be readily accepted.
Well, what were some of the other businesses and like churches in the area?
We had Tabernacle, St. John, 5th Street, Fairview. I'm trying to think who that guy was that had that one church. That was one of the things that the churches were the catalyst for a lot of things. They made sure that we were kind of treated fairly. But the churches are the last areas of segregation. because all the churches were defined by racism, or by race per se. All the churches I mentioned were basically 99.9% black. And now, most of them are still pretty much that same way. That's the last area of integration that we need to take care of. Although, I'm going to say this, busing was not the best thing for us. And I say that in that we got some of the poorest teachers at Douglas. We had excellent teachers at one time. They taught you how to be the person you are, how to respect yourself, gave you an education that was saying, okay, you're okay, get out there, let's do something. That stopped. Well, they bused us to Capitol Hill, U.S. Grant, but we didn't know anybody. And took us out of the neighborhood. The pride of the East Side left the East Side. As a guy used to tell me, he said, because you attend the school, you respect the school. If you don't attend the school in your neighborhood, you don't respect it. So he took us away from the neighborhood. And yes, that was part of the things that we wanted. We wanted equality. But you have to be prepared for what equality brings you. Sometimes it doesn't bring you positive. And we lost a lot of people. And I think we have digressed, if you will.
Well, is the house you grew up in still standing?
Yes, it is.
Still standing?
Yes, it is.
So, and how has the neighborhood changed in the last?
The change has been, I'm going to say this, and not disrespecting you. People have moved to the East Side now. White people have built $500,000 homes. So that means we cannot afford to live there anymore. So if you drive up and down 8th Street, 9th Street, Park, they built Lottie, certain portions of Lottie, they built nice homes over there. And I don't have a problem with that. But that just means we don't live there anymore, basically. And I hate to say it quite like that, but we don't. We've lost that particular portion of the neighborhood. Douglas High School is still there. They revamped it. I hate it. But that was a placation, if you will. And we don't have the leadership we have at Douglas High School. We had black principals who cared about us. And we have an influx now of people that are there for the money instead of trying to care about the students that they're trying to educate. So, I was an educator. I worked at Metro Tax. I've had various jobs that I loved and hated. I worked for the IRS. I hated that job. I would get a headache every Sunday afternoon because I hated that job just that bad. And when I finally got a chance to leave, I had a guy that was my supervisor. He had an intercom service that says, okay, when he wanted you to call you on the intercom, all over the whole place would hear that he wanted you to come to his office immediately. And I said, okay. When I got ready to leave, he loved country music. I played Take This Job and Shut It, put it on the intercom and played it all over the IRS facility. And that was my exit stage left. I think now, in my old age, I can only convey stuff to my children and hope that eventually they will grasp what I'm trying to tell them. It takes a while for young people to understand, myself included. I find myself so many times saying, Mama, Daddy told me this. And if I'd have just listened, I'd be a rich man today. But because I had to go my own way, find out myself as far as learning the hard way, that thing about, hard-headed makes a soft butt. It was all true. It does. You make serious errors in judgment that you wish to God you had never made. So, my life history now is I have a lovely wife that I care about, that we hope to spend the rest of our lives together. I have children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren that I love dearly and hope to God that we can do something in this world that keeps those children prosperous and alive.
Are any of you living in your home neighborhood?
No.
When you moved out?
Well, we all, as they say, we moved out and we never looked back. And a guy told me years ago, he was a dentist. He said, if we could take all the kids who left and went to college and come back to the Northeast Quadrant and use that same intellect to make our Northeast Quadrants prosperous, it would be wonderful. But all of us at that time said, we got to move west, we got to move to Midwest City, we got to move out of the country, out of the state, wherever. So we didn't come back. I didn't come back.
Well, how long did your parents live there?
All their lives.
All their lives.
And they brought me up on a house on Park Street. They lived and died in that house. Mm-hmm. And we sold it and never looked back. So it's just, those are the kind of things you say, okay, they call it about generational wealth. We didn't realize what generational wealth was. So therefore, we sold generational wealth for a month or two of prosperity. And that's about all it lasts, about a month or two. Because and I used to tell the kids, if I die, the money you're going to get, you ain't going to get till you're 35, 40 years old, because by then you have a little bit more sense to buy something more prosperous than a car or a house that you really don't care about. So, and that's it. Everybody just, I said, can we just, Rodney King said, can we all just get along? And that's so true all over the world. Can we just get along?
Well, growing up, what were some fun things that you and your buddies would do, and where?
Well, Spring Lake Park. I know you probably don't know where that is. Mm-hmm. It used to be a place where we could not go. Right there on right across the street from Lincoln Park.
Okay.
Where Metro Tech is now, they used to have an amusement park called Spring Lake Park. We could not go there. When we finally got a chance to go, I said, oh, okay. Then they closed down the swimming pool because they didn't want us to come. The water was tainted if we got in the water. But it was a wonderful place to go. We had a great time. I just hated that it was one of those things that it was right there in our neighborhood, but we could not go. And that was part of the Northeast Quadrant. We couldn't play golf at that time. I spent more time caddying than playing. So that's how I learned about golf, is learning how to caddy. Because they had golfing at Douglas High School. They had everything you wanted at Douglas High School, on how to be whatever you wanted. Had golf, tennis, swimming, track, baseball, football, all of the above. And you can have auto mechanics and carpentry, welding, everything was right there. You didn't have to go anywhere. But as far as things to do, we had plenty of things to do. We played baseball, played softball, hung out with friends. Dunn's Dairy Queen up there on 23rd and Martin Luther King was the place that we all hung out. That was our place where we could go and nobody would bother. We could sit there and do all kind of mischievous things, and police would not bother us. I think I had a little old 62 Falcon that everybody knew, my little old white Falcon. It wasn't worth nothing. A friend of mine and I decided we wanted to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. On a spur of the moment, I left the keys in the ignition, sitting up at Dunn's Dairy Queen for 24 hours. Came back and nobody touched it. That was how it was. We might steal your hubcaps, but we wouldn't steal your car. Plus nobody wanted a 62 Falcon anyway. But that was the fun things. We just you had your nucleus of friends.
Was there a neighborhood park, playground?
We had Lincoln Park was we had Sunday afternoon, everybody drove through Lincoln Park. It was after you go to church, go home, get your kids together, we drive through Lincoln Park. Now if you want a TV, you want some marijuana, you want a drink, you can go through Lincoln Park, get all of that at one time. And play baseball and listen to music and have a great time. Of course, that was something that the golfers said they couldn't stand that, so they closed it down. We didn't have that place anymore to go. We had a nightclub that we go to. We had a place called Treva's, and we had the Pink Kitchen. I'm trying to think of other places I used to go. that was wonderful places to go. Nobody got cut up. Nobody got shot. We could go and have a great time, and just be careful at 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody says, you know, you got to do something. As the man said, I don't care where you go, but you got to leave here. And it was one of those things that everybody knew what Trevas was. Everybody knew where the Pink Kitchen was, or the place where we used to go and just kind of hang out and have a good time. I think I had one person to get cut, but other than that, that was it. The drive-by shootings and so forth didn't happen until they invented crack cocaine. And then we went from hell to handbasket. We deteriorated down to nothing. It just aggravates me to no end to watch our young people stand on the corner selling drugs in the Northeast part, at the convenience stores, just standing out there like they own that little 5x5, whatever it is that they call it, they have to stand on. But that was, I used to tell my kids, the Ku Klux Klan ain't got nothing on crack cocaine.
So that's some of what's going on today.
Yes. Yes.
With some other changes in the area.
That's the major one. I think the kids have lost a lot of pride in who they are and what they are. And I look at them and I said, you know, I look at the ladies. Rap music is something I learned to tolerate. I don't particularly care for it. When they first brought out rap, they would denigrate women, denigrate anybody that didn't go along with their program. And the sad part about it is some of them have absorbed some of that. Some of the women they dress like little hoochies. I mean, I had one little lady when I was teaching school. Of course, girls would change clothes every now and then before they come to class. And she wore a dress so short you couldn't get a drink of water. So I called the mother and I said, hey, I need you to come and look at your daughter and bring a set of clothes because I'm going to have to send her home because the little boys that own her like stink on crap. And she said, well, my daughter wouldn't do that. And I said, yes, ma'am, I'm looking at your daughter. And I'm concerned that this school's going to get out of hand because I have these young boys over here and they little hormones are just racing. She would not believe me. She finally came up and, of course, she chastised her because she had changed clothes. But my first thought was, just like my wife and I talked about, where did she get the clothes? Somebody had to buy those clothes for her. So, what you gonna do? I mean, we have to understand that everything on TV is not for us. TV is the worst thing that ever happened to most of our young people. They see that's their educational tool. And then my grandson, he loves his tablet, so that's his escape mechanism. He can work on that tablet 3 or 4 hours a day. And same way we used to watch TV, and everything on TV was something we internalized and said this is a part of us. And I know I'm digressing in various and sundry ways, but I don't know exactly where we're going as far as my race of people. I really don't. I don't know what I can do to instill in some of them that the path is, yes, it's a winding path, and you may not always find what you're looking for, but at least search on a positive note. Don't search for the negative. I mean, we can always find something negative in anybody. If you really look, you can find something negative. It's hard to find the positives in people. And if we work hard enough, we can find enough positive to make it okay. And that's about all I think I've given you my whole life history.
Yeah, but back up just a little bit though. You said you taught. What did you teach?
I was a counselor.
You were a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get, I'm curious how you got into that. I mean.
You know where Boley, Oklahoma is?
Boley, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there many times.
Dr. Ashley was a good friend. He needed a counselor. I had a master's degree in counseling psychology. So he finagled something with the Board of Education, gave me a counseling certificate, and I was a counselor for 2 years at Boley.
Okay.
And it was a wonderful experience. I always wanted in an all-black community, but my major concern with Boley, Oklahoma It's Main Street. Main Street was a dividing line, if you think about it. You have to understand Boley. Boley is a wonderful community. Main Street was a dividing line. If you lived on the west side of Boley, you got treated a certain way. If you lived on the east side of Boley, you got treated in a certain way. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't know.
None of us told us that. We did about 12 interviews there. No one mentioned that.
Well, they probably wouldn't. It takes an outsider to proceed to see that. And me as a counselor, I kept saying, okay, because I would make the thing of trying to go visit all of my counselees and see where they lived and talk to their parents and so forth and so on. They won't tell you about the insights that goes on in Bowl either.
Yep.
Okay. But if you ever drive through, you go to the west side of Bowl, you say, oh, look at all these nice houses. Oh, look at this, look at this. And then you go east side of Bowl, did y'all forget?
Yeah, I remember that part,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. And they treat the kids differently because of that. That's how I became a counselor. Then I found at Metro Tech. I was a counselor at Metro Tech for 6 years. So it's like I said, those are my Gulliver's travels.
And how would you got interested in that? And
I was always, I'm a person who likes to help people. That's always been my name.
Well, did you have one at Douglas, a counselor?
No.
So there wasn't that.
Oh, I had Miss Bruce was my counselor at Douglas High School.
But that he didn't influence you to
She.
go. Or she.
No, I was really interested in psychology. That's what my major was in, psychology. And I got into counseling psychology. But I always loved it because I worked with folks with disabilities. And I moved to Florida and I worked with brain and spinal cord injury people as far as helping them transition out back to their homes and psychologically and emotionally and physically do as much as they possibly do with counseling. So, and that was wonderful. I loved it. It just made my day. I did that for 10 years.
Well, then how'd you end up back in Oklahoma?
Grandkids.
Grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course. That has that funny way of that happening,
That's
isn't
correct.
it?
Because I thought about staying in Florida, but I said, oh, all of my children and my grandkids are right here.
So when you decided to move back here, were you considering various neighborhoods and why you picked wherever you
My
are
wife
now?
picked that one. We lived in Edmond for a while, but she said she wanted to buy a home in Edmond, so that's why we stayed in Edmond. So, because I grew up right down the street here, about a half a mile.
So when did you move back?
In 2012.
It is 12 years then. So you've seen some changes
Yes,
too.
ma'am. It was, I said I went to Central State, and this was back when it was Central State College. So it has grown exponentially since I got my bachelor's degree from Central State. Because when I can't say, I was in 1967, 68, 69, 72. Got my first degree in 72.
So you were at OSU in 67.
I was in OSU from 66, 67.
67. Okay.
And I was a wild child.
Well, and your major at that point was counseling?
No, it was psychology.
Psychology, well. Yeah.
Basic psychology.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever met Dr. Groh and
No.
Dr. Phillips and Dr. Stewart. Okay, those were my teachers.
Well, in high school, did you have a favorite teacher?
I had several. I had Miss Greer, Miss Green, and Miss Randolph, and I'm trying to have one more. Dr. Cooksey. And they were great. I mean, you never know who you're gravitating to. And some people just make you feel comfortable. And that was always been my thing. I want somebody to feel comfortable with me as far as me trying to convey whatever knowledge I think I have, even though it might be minuscule, I'm still trying to convey whatever knowledge I have. And I try to convey it in a way that makes them feel like they can trust me. And that's the hardest thing for any kid to do, is trust an adult that they really don't know. And yeah, you have several teachers, and some of them can teach, and some of them can't. You just can't get past the way they are either articulate or the way they come across, or just something about them that says, okay, I can't stand this, I'm ready to go. And I've had several like that you said, okay, let me do the basics to get by, and going by, you never learn a doggone thing.
Well, did you envision going back to Douglas as a counselor?
No.
That wasn't an end goal out there.
No. It was high school. No, high school kids are the hardest ones to work with because they don't know who they are, and you're trying to help them. Some of them you have that 10% that says, okay, I know where I'm going. I'm going to college. I got this kind of degree. I'm going to make it and do whatever. Then you have the other 90% that says, I don't have a freaking clue. My mama told me to do this, or my daddy told me to do this, or the teacher told me to do that, or the counselor told me to do that, but I don't have a clue what I want to do. And I was one of those that didn't really, I knew, but I didn't know the path to get there. Because you have to go here, you got to go here, just to go back to where you really want to go. So, like I said, I love the military because it gave me another path.
Yep.
Then my degree gave me another path. The kids I worked with gave me another path. And I said, okay, then when I finally found this niche, whereas I really like working with folks with disabilities, I said, I have arrived. And it was a wonderful feeling. But just think about all the things you had to go through just to get there. But I had a friend of mine, he just passed here, he knew he was going to be a doctor. And that was his thing. He said, I'm going to be a doctor. And he went to school, became a doctor, and he's okay. Didn't have that luxury of saying, I know exactly what I'm going to do and how I'm going to make that happen.
Well, were some of your neighbors teachers?
No.
Or family friends with them or any?
We had the church I attended. It was a haven of a multitude of people who had various professional occupations. Tinker Airport Space was one of those things that everybody wanted to work for Tinker or have some kind of private profession or something like that. But all the people there had degrees. Most of them had degrees. Even those who were lay people, they walked with some degrees of professionalism. So it was a very unique kind of, we have what we call the bougie institutions. St. John was one of them, as far as everybody, one of the largest black churches in Oklahoma City. Tabernacle was another all-black, large black church. Fairview and Fifth Street was kind of 3 and 4. But it was all about those folks who seemed to have something. And that was the biggie back in the 50s and 60s, to have something. So you knew kind of like your parents was not well off, but they wasn't poor. I didn't know what central air conditioning was until I got in the military. But we were not poor. And we were not well off, but we was okay. And that was not a biggie. Nobody asked you what your parents did for a living as a kid, because we didn't care. So long as we could get along, we were just fine. I had an old 55 Chevy that you could barely get it out of second gear, but that was my little hoopty, and I just loved that little old 55 Chevy. But
well, you worked part-time so you could pay for that yourself.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to have insurance. So I paid $250.
And gas was cheap back then.
31 cents a gallon.
Yeah. A lot cheaper.
But the little things like not having to pay for insurance, working for everything, and because the parents say, okay, when you turn 16, didn't mean a doggone thing. You just turned 16 years old. Go get your driver's license and go about your business. As far as you get in the car, that was up to you. Nobody's going to give you nothing. And that's one of the things I think I cherish, the fact that I had to work for everything. Didn't give me nothing. Didn't promise me anything except a place over my head, good food, people who loved me. And I appreciated that. I think our kids nowadays, when you tell them to go to their room, they got a laptop, telephone, TV, bathroom, everything. We had a one-holer. I grew up with, I had that one bathroom.
Yep, me too.
Had that telephone in the hallway.
Party line.
That party line.
In my case.
That party line.
Yeah.
call them back. Uh, those are the kind of things that kids nowadays take for granted. You know, we didn't. My house at 9 o'clock, phone cease. You're not taking any calls after 9 o'clock at night unless it's an emergency. And the kids didn't have any emergencies. So, and TV, my dad liked baseball and football. So Saturdays and Sundays, baseball and football. Of course, we had, Sunday there was Ed Sullivan, Red Skelton, trying to think who else would be so. Jimmy Durante, Loretta Lynn. No.
Lawrence Welk Hee Haw.
Yeah. yes, Lawrence Welk Hee Haw.
Saturday nights, yes.
Yeah, but that was the traditional until you finally became a little teenager. Then you kind of branched out a little bit, but most of the time you was right there watching TV with your parents. Everybody huddled around the corner, just in the living room, just doing what we're doing.
Was dinner always around the table?
Yes.
Or supper? Which should you call it? Dinner or supper?
Dinner. And Sunday afternoon lunch. I mean dinners. When you leave church, mom come home, and she cook a dinner. And we sit around and go over what we're going to do for the rest of the week. And boys would have to wash dishes, which I hated, but that was part of life. So.
Did the community have celebrations or block parties or anything like that you recall?
No. We didn't have. My best friend, he went to Philadelphia, and I coerced him into having a block party. And this was back in the 70s, and because the gang was so significant back then, and as far as East Philly, everybody we knocked on the door trying to get a block party started, they thought we were trying to look at that and see if we can break in the house. So it's hard trying to convince everybody to do it. And Oklahoma we were 20 years behind everybody as far as socializing and those kind of capacities. The gang warfare didn't get started here until the 90s, really. So we were so far behind as far as East Coast, West Coast. When I went to the East Coast, there were the bars on the window, all the shops and so forth in the cities. We didn't put bars on our windows here at all. And that was a real shock to me. I was walking around saying, oh my God, look at all these bars. Everybody's in jail. Because I did not know. So life is that's what the guy says, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get till you bite off into it. And have to cherish that. My wife and I have major discussions on the blessings that we have. And we have so many blessings to kind of get through life as old as we are, being basically unscathed. And to cherish the children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren that we have. Because we can always be there. We can try to be there for them. And try to talk to the young people that we have around us to let them know there's somebody that's going to always love you. You may not like what they say when they say it, but they're saying that because they love you. I guess we used to go to our parents and ask them, can we go do something? Hoping they would say no. So we can go back and say, no, my mom said I can't do this. And that was the truism. We used our parents, and just like our parents said, no, we can't go because they was afraid. We was afraid too. We didn't want to go. But I guess I don't go back to those kind of things too much like we used to. We had an all-school reunion for all the classes of Douglas High School, which was wonderful. Got a chance to see a lot of people that we miss because they're deceased. I have a book, and I have a lady who's our secretary of our class sends out information as to all the people who have expired. And it was 400 of us. A little over 400 people graduated in 1965. Now we have less than 100 or 200 because we're all older. Vietnam killed some people. The penitentiary killed some folks. And we just have to be, look at us, we're saying those who are still alive are so blessed to be able to hug another, I say be seen, if you will. Because a lot of them can't be seen anymore.
Well, where's the cemeteries?
We had Hillcrest, Trice Hill. That was the ones basically for us. Now they have made it so now that you can just about go wherever you want to go, but it was Trice Hill and Hillcrest was the major cemeteries that we had in the Northeast Quadrant. They were way out east, but that's where my parents are buried. My brother's buried out there also. So, but you know,
And would you go downtown much when you were growing up?
oh yeah, that was the only place we had to go. We had Johnny Brown's, which we couldn't eat at Johnny Brown's. We had Cat's Drugs, which we couldn't eat their ice also. You had Montgomery Ward's, Woolworths, Rothschild's. Everything was, if you had to think about it, downtown was downtown. That's the only place you could go. You buy your cars down there, you get everything there except groceries.
Hmm.
Whereas now you have the malls and you have the strip malls. So we didn't. Oklahoma City in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s was basically locked into downtown. I worked downtown for a number of years for the Federal Reserve Bank, and that was the place to go. I mean, and at nighttime we had the Criterion Theater. Of course, back in the day we only had the Jewel, the Arwich, and the East Side. They had 3 theaters. One was down on Deep Deuce, the other one was over here on Bath. Then had one down on 4th Street, which was the Jewel. Yeah, the Jewel. So, but like I said, downtown was all. That's all we had was downtown. So now it's they have Uptown basically, but Uptown that's just the name they gave it, which was down on 23rd Street. But you had Capitol Hill Edition, that was on Southwest 29th, and it was basically 99.9% pure. We go out there every now and then. My mother used to go out there for one place to get something, and I can't remember what it was, but it was on Capitol Hill, and I would sit in the car because I wanted to monitor what was going on because something happened. I was going to have to do something that they liked. But that was racism back in the day, and you know better what you have to say. It was just racism, and we lived with it, we dealt with it, we understood it, and
So within the neighborhood, you had your groceries and your
everything.
your necessities, basically.
That's correct. And okay, a lot of things have changed. Now we had a Humpty Dumpty on Walnut, one up on 23rd and Martin Luther King, and I think we tried to have a store on 36 and Spring Lake Drive. I might as well say it is, but we have a tendency to shoot ourselves in the foot. So that never came to fruition. They tried very much so, and it lasted for a couple of years, and then it folded up. Just like we don't have at Humpty Dumpty on 23rd Martin Luther King, stayed around for a long time. Then it changed to IGA, then it changed to something else. But because it's the Northeast Quadrant, it wasn't maintained as well. You could walk in there, and it had a certain odor that you say, do I really want to buy my groceries here? Mm. Then we had a place called Otwell's, been around for years. First it was on 8th Street, then it moved on around 10th and Martin Luther King, or Eastern. And that's where you want a good soul food with greens and collard greens and hog maws and pig feed and so forth, go to Otwell's. And everybody would go to Otwell's and do their thing, and they sold out to somebody else. And like I said, it's a food desert here, or it was. They're trying to make it better.
Yeah, how is it today?
It's a lot better. I mean, it's just like everything else. It's a lot better. It's just, it seems like everywhere I've gone, when you go to the quadrant where it's mostly 90% black folks, the prices are always high.
I noticed there's a newer Homeland.
That is correct. And the prices are outrageous.
I've not been.
They came in, my wife and I went, prices was equitable. As soon as they got it to the point where they said, okay, we know we got you here, prices went back up to some degree of normality, and you might as well go to Whole Foods rather than going to Homeland, because the prices are just that high.
There's a YMCA.
Why got the Y? Well, it's the health center.
Wellness center.
Yes,
whatever.
right next door. And that's wonderful. And I appreciate that.
It's new.
It is new. It's new.
Part of that MAPS.
That is correct.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's correct.
So that's helping some.
It's anything that happens in the Northeast Quadrant, it's a help. Like I said, sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot. We know we have something going for ourselves. I was really surprised when I got back here and found out they had a Tinker Federal Credit Union on 23rd Street. That was almost non-existent. Tinker didn't recognize us. They used us like they use everybody else because they needed a job to get done, and we had the expertise to do that. But putting a credit union in the Northeast Quadrant on 23rd Street, oh my God, that was significant to me. It was. But those are the kind of things that says that we have arrived, but we have to learn to utilize. We have to learn to understand. We have to learn. I saw something on TV. The guy was teaching his son how to use the stock market, how to understand how you can make money with other people's money. We have not grasped that concept yet. We're working toward it, but we have to start when they're young to understand, yes, you're going to have some hard times, you can have some good times, but you can have some bad times. And everything that comes to you is not going to be easy. And our kids nowadays, my sons included, don't know how to sacrifice. We ate beans sometimes because we didn't have no money. We ate bologna because we didn't have no money. You know, so I didn't have a problem with that. And now they say, "Oh, Daddy, can you loan me or give me?" Because they don't know what it's like to say, "I don't have it." Or tell my kids, "No, we can't do that because I don't have the money." Because I loved it when my kids were growing up. We used to sit down on Friday night. We make a budget. And we say, "Okay, this is what we can afford." We go out. We say, "We're gonna go out and we're gonna eat, go out to eat." But then after that, we got church money, we got school money, and then after that, I'll give you your allowance, and that's it. We're done. And I don't know if they do that now anymore.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
So
that's a good thing to do, though.
Yes, it is.
Did your parents do that with you?
They let us know that you can't write a check unless you have money in the bank. And my dad was very frugal. Mother was worse, but it was as far as the money was concerned, we never knew. I never knew how much money my father made. He never told anyone what he made. But we knew he made enough money so he could buy us a home and make sure that the electricity was never turned off. Water was never turned off. He got a car every 10 years. And he was okay. He was one of those that would drive to pay his bills every month. So he'd get in the car, instead of paying that little 3 or 4 cents of mileage, he said, "I'm going to drive over here and pay the utility bill, the phone bill, and that's what he did every month." So that was letting me know, I guess, we are patterns of our environment. My father would get up every morning and go to work. So that instilled in me that I have to get up every day and do something productive. I have to go to work every day because I want my children to see me in a positive vein of me going to work every day doing something constructive. Now I can say, okay, we can see if we can go ahead and rob this bank. And we can put a whole lot of effort in going robbing this bank. But is that going to help us in the long run? Is that going to give us long-term money? No. I'm going to jail. I read a book called The Coldest Winter Ever. It's a wonderful book about a lady whose father was a drug dealer. And she thought nothing of it. She had the best clothes, best home to live in, but when my father got busted, it was a whole different ballgame. He went to jail. She didn't know how to make a living because her father gave her everything. All of a sudden, she was trying to do what women do. They said, "I see this guy over here, he got money, I'm going to see if I can lay with him for a while, maybe he can give me some money." And she ended up going to prison, pregnant. And her name was Winter. But it was an excellent book, and I try to let everybody know, read that book. Because that lets you know, you cannot, if you don't put forth positive effort to be somebody other than a drug dealer or a gangster or whoever, you're going to jail. And once you go to jail, like my brother, he's a probation parole officer. You on paper. So they can manipulate you any way they want to. And my dad used to say, we break into the jailhouse because we do stupid stuff.
Mm.
So we stop doing stupid stuff and breaking into the jailhouse. Then we on paper, we can't get a good job, we can't vote, can't do anything. So we go back to the jail because we got to break in somebody's house to go buy drugs or whatever we're going to buy to do nothing.
Continues.
That's correct. It's a vicious cycle. And that's what I hate.
So if you could envision what you would like the neighborhood to be like in 2 or 3 years, because it'll take a little while to get to, what would you like to see happen?
I would like for us to learn what respect means. The kids always say, you got to respect me. For what? Have you done anything to earn my respect? Have you carried yourself in a way that said, look at this man, he's about something. I can respect that. So I want people to understand the word respect. It means a lot. But we have to understand what we have to do to get that respect. It's not carrying a gun. It's not shooting somebody. It's not being a part of a gang. It's a part of you saying, I'm doing something to benefit this, Northeast quadrant. I'm benefit myself. So if next 5 to 10 years, we can learn what the word respect means and make sure that we incorporate that into us as a person that says, I know what respect means. I know how to carry myself so somebody will respect me. I don't have to go up and say, you got to respect me. I can hit you upside the head with a brick if you don't. That's not respect. That's fear. And that means eventually I'm going to get a gun and shoot you because you hit me upside the head with a brick. That's not gaining any respect. That's going to jail. So find out what respect is. Find out what pride is. James Brown said black and proud. We got to go back to James Brown and be black and proud again. That's both male and female. We have to be black and proud. We can't blend. I can't go to Oklahoma State and say, okay, I can just walk over here and be just like everybody else. No, I'm going to stand out like a sore thumb. So let's learn to understand what we have to do and have that pride again, have that respect of one another and each other. That's what I'd like to see for the Northeast quadrant. Learn respect. Learn pride all over again. Understand that we're here. We're not going anywhere. And understand that you got the Haitians over there that all kind of atrocities over there. Well, they can't figure out which way is up. And I was watching something about the black Buffalo soldiers and Jesse Owens and all the folks that came before us that laid some groundwork for us to be proud of. Although they were second-class citizens, when Jesse Owens got through doing all the things in 1936 at the Olympics, he came back and couldn't get a job. He came back and couldn't go to the hotel. He couldn't go eat, couldn't go do nothing. Buffalo soldiers the same way. They couldn't do anything. If they didn't have the money coming in from their retirement, they were SOL. So, but they still said, look what I'm doing. I'm trying to get people to understand how proud I am of me. That I can do this and understand that I have the mental capabilities and the physical capabilities to be a proud person. Not a proud black man, a proud person. My wife went to Italy. She said, when you go to Italy, you're not a black female. You're a woman. And that's it. That's all we all want to be. Just be a man or a woman who's trying to go somewhere, or trying to get something to eat. That's all we want to do. So we can get that together in the Northeast quadrant and start letting our kids know that we're a proud race. We were kings and queens in our own nation in Africa. Now they brought us over here and dehumanized us and made us feel like that we weren't about nothing, but we still got that in us to be proud. We just have to learn to do it all over again. Because the lady told me, she said, you walk around like you somebody. I said, I am somebody. I'm my mother's child. I'm somebody. I'm my father's child. He instilled a lot in me. So let me be me. If you don't like it, get out of my way. And that's always been my philosophy. So that's it in a nutshell, my dear.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It's
I hope
great.
you can glean something out of that, because I know I digressed in so many different avenues.
It's a matter of pride too, where you came from. That's
Yes.
where do you consider home?
Here. right here in Oklahoma.
I know, but more specifically.
If you really want to look at it, if you go back to Washington Park and the northeast quadrant from Park and Kate, that's where you feel, you started there. We walked up and down the streets and we sat out on the porch and everybody passed by, you wave at them, and it was just home. We built little tents out in the backyard. The man always had a key to the house to drop milk off and so forth and so on. Those little things that says, I'm at home. Right now, I got a security system in my home. I know my neighbors, but it's not the same. So, home is where you're brought up. Regardless of where you go or where you've been, when you come back, you say, I'm going home. You know where you're going. The house is still there, and I hope they never tear it down. But it always has a little thing in your heart that says, this is home. This will always be home. I spent the better part of, I guess, from kindergarten to graduating and going to Oklahoma State and getting my master's at Central State was always right there at 1405 Northeast Park. So that's home. That will always be home. Regardless of where I've lived all over. I've lived in Florida, I've lived in places, but it's home is right here in Oklahoma City.
Okay. And where's your happy place?
Happy place is hard.
Or where was it when you were in that house?
You can sit out on that porch and just be whoever you wanted to be. And we had Miss Jackson, Miss White, Mr. White, Mr. Hudson, Mr. Lee. All of them were a part of the neighborhood, and we could just. Those people were kind of like the nucleus of 1400 block. And we all knew the kids. Everybody played together. We knew we had to be on that porch before stop. Whatever light is that comes on that night that says, okay, you got to be on the porch. You can't be out there in the yard. You had to be on the porch. So when the light came on, you got to be on the porch. But everybody knew when it got a certain time, everybody ran to the house. We sit there and wave at everybody and still holler and scream at everybody, but we was on the porch. And everybody knew everybody. And that was the key to us. That was a happy place because nobody gave a crap about how much money you made, what kind of car you drive, what kind of clothes you wore. It was just a neighborhood that enjoyed each other.
Thank goodness for front porches. We miss those, don't we?
And I tell my wife, they designed everything now, so everything's in the backyard. You don't get a chance to know your neighbor. And sometimes that's just not a bad thing. But,
So we can blame integration, urban renewal, and architects, huh?
Well,
a little bit of all of that.
All of that is valid. We think we have progress. And then when you look back, you say it's not progress. Because you killed some things in the progress and you wish you had it back. I wish they would never did busing. I wish that had not killed John F. Kennedy. I wish sometimes that we could just learn to love each other and not put too much stock in the color of your skin, the texture of your hair, how much money you make, the car you drive, the lady you married, the husband you married. Those kind of things don't mean a doggone thing. It's about you and you just.
It was not me.
It wasn't me. So anyway.
Avon Collins.
Yeah, I guess. But those are kind of, you start looking back on progress and you say, what if? Listen to something that Jimmy Kimmel said, we made Juneteenth as a national holiday. And said, can white people be allowed to stay home for the day, to be off that day? It's not about them. So they should work. And that Juneteenth be about nothing but black people. Is that progress? No. Is that something that we recognize as a positive? It took us 400 years for you to recognize we're a human being, and then it's going to take you another 1,000 years to accept us. So what does that say? We have not arrived yet. We're still trying to get there. So, and I've been fortunate enough to not get there, but at least I've gotten what I wanted out of it, to the point that I can say I can survive. I can help my kids. I can help those who come and talk to me. I was watching the thing about Jesse Owens. He tried to help people and let them know what he had about life, and what it could do for you, and what it could not do for you. And then one guy that he helped saw his daughter and said, because he did not advocate certain things, he said, I can't do anything for you. I will not help you. I will not do anything. And I was telling my wife, I worked at Tinker Air Force Base, and a gentleman, I got hired and was doing something what I thought was okay, but he said, I would never do anything to help you at Tinker Air Force Base. And I said, well, excuse the crap out of me. But it's those little things like that says that crabs in the can syndrome, or that thing that says we are a people that should be trying to help each other. Because I was an officer, I'm digressing again. I don't know if you remember Chappie James.
The name.
He was the first 4-star black general. I met him at Fort Benjamin Harrison. And we were talking, and he had put out an article in Army Times. Army Times goes all over the world. Anywhere there's an Army military reservation, it goes there. About there's no such thing as institutionalized racism in the military. And he asked me, I read it. He asked me my opinion, and I said, yes, I read it. And he said, well, what do you think? I said, well, do you want my honest opinion, or you want the political answer? He said, well, I want the honest opinion. I said, man to man. He said, yeah, man to man. I thought it wasn't worth what the hoot I left on the pump handle. I said, you know good and well that there is racism in the military. I said, answer me this. Who was the one that helped you to become a 4-star general? It wasn't a black man. It was a white man. He needed you, and he played the game, and you became a 4-star general. Are you helping anyone to become behind you? He said, well, no. I said, well, why not? That's your job. Just like it's my job to try to help somebody to come behind me. Because I've made my steps. I'm going to try to help somebody else. But because I was very open with him, he sent a letter down through channels saying I disrespected him in so many words, which ruined my military career. But that's enough. I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done.
All right, I'm done for now. Thank you very much.
Okay. And she got mostly black kids jobs at the park, especially if you're going to college. Because my first summer after college, she got, what's her name? Shoot. But as my first job as a lifeguard or a facilitator at Toland Park.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used to live in West Town, right up the street on Ellison.
Okay.
And my parents had a cafe called Hilltop Cafe. It was at the tallest point in West Town. But anyway, go ahead and tell them about Toland Park.
But Toland Park was very unique. It was over there by University Hospital, and of course everything's been bulldozed down. You would not know the park ever been there because they both built down. Everything is now OU Med. But it was a wonderful park that we played. They had a swimming pool, tetherball, checkers, you name it. It was all right there, and the kids could come and have a great time. I taught people how to swim, how to give mouth-to-mouth resuscitate. That was fun. It was very rewarding, I guess. And
Was it the only swimming pool around that
No.
you could go to?
I think they still had Truman. You remember Truman School?
Truman is in a different area.
Okay. But they had Truman.
Toland Park was in West Town, out there by the public market.
Yeah.
Farmer's Market.
Farmers Market. But we had to. It was that in that particular neighborhood. That was the only one in that particular neighborhood that they could go to. So from about Eastern all the way to 13th Street to 8th Street, Stonewall, Kellum. All is that area right there. So it was about a 4-mile square.
It's right there. It was close to downtown. It's close to Deep Dews, right next to it, Deep Dews.
Now that was Page.
What you school? I'm talking about Toland Park. It's a park.
Yeah, Totem Park was that was downtown.
It was a park.
Yeah, that was downtown.
That everybody, all over the city would come to because they didn't have, everything was segregated, and if they wanted to have parties, they could come over there
That is correct.
and have it on that tennis court.
With Vacation Bible School, we used to all go to Totem Park for our festivities for graduation.
We did everything over there.
Everything was at Totem Park. I could not even find
And
Totem.
you could really Google it up, and it was named after some famous athlete, black athlete, track star or something.
I never knew that. But this, I think, is a guy that's a city councilman. He gave me a good history lesson when I went to the Martin Luther King festivities. And he gave me some good history about Oklahoma City and where it's about and what's going on in Oklahoma City, that the undercurrent things of trying to make us better. And I know politics is tough, especially if you're in the minority. But he's trying to do the best we can. All it takes, like I tell you, one person.
But you see, here's my thing. You got to see, America hides behind Christianity. And for 400 years, they still haven't realized how to treat people equal and give people what they deserve. And nobody's talking about it. They haven't straightened out this hatred part yet over black folks. Christians have not came to reality to practice what they preach in Christianity. I'm telling you.
I know, but it's
And, I tell people, I say, our religion's about goodness, but they solving their problems with guns.
well, goodness on Sunday.
Well, after they come out of church,
That's why I say goodness.
they come out a devil. When they walk out of church, they turn into a devil.
Well,
We digressed again.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
we'll,
digress.
we'll cut it
Well,
off.
yeah, cut it off. Well,
Oh, you heard what I'm saying.
Yes.
You really